It's Spidey Sunday. Welcome to the Son of the Morning Comics channel, and this is our second Spidey Sunday. Hopefully we don't have to do too many of these, but you know, there's no new comics to review, so hopefully there will be sooner rather than later. So until then, we'll do these things like, Spidey Sunday. So what we're looking at here today is the Amazing Spider-Man skating on thin ice. And as you can see here, we've got some beer, and we've got some cigarettes, and we got a syringe, and, you know, all sorts of bad stuff. So, you know, let's see what Spidey can do to save these kids. So the story starts in New York. Well, of course it does, because that's where Spider-Man lives. But you can see here he's battling Electro, and, you know, Spider-Man is gonna try to thwart Electro's plans here. They get into it, having a good romp. But then Spidey's spider sense starts tingling. And he says, there's somebody trying to sneak up on him. And this gives Electro just enough time to throw one of his shocking blasts at Spider-Man. And that gives Electro the chance to get away. He doesn't want to get caught. After Spidey awakens, he's a little bit disheveled, but, you know, he's realized he's fallen into a crate of hockey pucks. But they don't feel like hockey pucks. They're a lot lighter, and he's wondering what's going on here. And he says here, the invoice, there's a packing slip, and it looks like Electro's shipping this stuff to Winnipeg, Canada. I live in Winnipeg, Canada, so that's pretty cool. And, you know, he says, somehow I doubt that Electro's gone into the sporting goods business. This little web slinger's gonna have to take a trip up there to see what's happening. Spider-Man's coming to my town? Yes! And check this out. Who doesn't want this, Kraft peanut butter Spider-Man watch? I'm allergic to peanut butter, but I'd take the watch in a second. So, shortly thereafter, Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, calls into the Daily Bugle and explains to J. Jonah Jameson that before he goes on the assignment that he was sending him to a science fair in Fredericton. Fredericton, by the way, is halfway across the country from Winnipeg, just in case you didn't know. And so, you know, the Daily Bugle is covering this science fair in Canada, this children's science fair in Canada. Sounds realistic. But hey, what can you do? So he wants to go to Winnipeg. J. Jonah Jameson is having none of this, but Peter is able to explain to him that, like, you know, if he sends him to Winnipeg, you know, he is a graduate student with a strong background in science. He can do a profile on the contestant from Winnipeg, and, you know, then he's saving J. Jonah Jameson money because he doesn't have to pay for a reporter and a photographer. This is music to J. Jonah Jameson's ears, and of course Spider-Man gets his way, and he gets to come to my hometown. And look at these sweatpants, these Spidey sweatpants. Free! Oh! You just need 3 containers of Downy fabric softener. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, Peter Parker arrives in Winnipeg, and, you know, he goes to the address that he was given, and it appears to be a community center. And he introduces himself to this guy. His name is Herb. Herb runs the community center, I suppose, and he's looking for somebody named Beth Smith. Beth being the person who is going to the science fair in Fredericton. He asks him if he runs the center. He says, yeah, and points out that that's Beth over there. And, it's exciting stuff. She's not as, he mentioned, she's not as quite a good athlete as she is a scientist, but, she never stops trying and she'll get better. And, it's, practice is just about over here, so Herb goes to, call it a day, and, a Spider-Man sweatshirt also. This one from Ultra Cheer, with 3 boxes of Ultra Cheer. And so, calls off the practice. It's time. The team, I guess, is called the Aces, and he asks, what does Aces stand for? And the team screams out, attitude, cooperation, example, and sportsmanship. These are words to Peter Parker's ears. And then later after the practice at the Winnipeg Mall, because there's only one, I'm sure, you see, here that they're, how was practice, guys? It was good, I guess. And then you can tell by the rat tail that this blonde kid's up to no good. I mean, he's definitely got that Kiefer Sutherland from Lost Boys thing going on there right now. And, asks them, he says, the big star sounds a little wound down. You want a beer? And he's already got a smoke. He says, sure, of course I want that beer. So Spidey's hanging around there on the building watching what's going down there, and he sees that Alan, who Herb mentioned to him, is the best player on the team, but he's been struggling lately. Now Spidey seems to think he can understand why Alan is struggling on the ice like he never used to. Must be the influence of these kids. So we got one of the kids hands Alan this little hockey puck that opens up, and it's got all sorts of blue and yellow, purple pills, and that sort of thing. And that's not good, because that means that there's drug use happening. So, he takes it, and of course the guy, or this is one of the bad kids, sorry, he gives it to Alan, and Alan says, since we're good old pals, these ones are on the house. That's the first time's free, the next time after that you gotta pay for it until you're hooked. I know that was like the 80s, early 90s after school special thing about drugs. It doesn't actually work that way. Nobody's ever giving you free drugs unless you're like a really good looking girl at a party or at a bar, because it's just the way it is. But that's not to say that people won't try to get you hooked on drugs. That still does happen. But, he says to them, you can try them, not try them, whatever. And Spidey's thinking to himself, okay, that cuts it. This little web slinger's gotta get involved. So Spidey swoops down, first scaring the shit out of Alan, saying that he wants to talk to him, and he says, yeah, sure. And then he swings him away. Okay, time out for a second. We're in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, my hometown. This kid's wearing a friggin' Edmonton Oilers jersey. What the hell is going on? I friggin' hate the Oilers. Okay, I just had to say that. He should be wearing a Winnipeg Jets jersey. This is from before the Jets left. And, you know, there is no reason. We got him back, so I'm happy about that. But, come on. Wear a Jets jersey. And so, you know, he takes him around, swinging around. Explains to him that, you know, he's taking him to places where drug use happens, but he says, but Spidey, this is a bar. And Spidey explains to Alan that alcohol's a drug too, and among kids his age, it's the most commonly abused substance. And then he notices that that's his friend Ben down there, and he says, look more carefully. There's buying and selling going on. And this isn't about beer. And so they follow along. They sort of stalk the kid. And he says, here's an opportunity to learn about some other kinds of substance abuse. Let's see what your buddy's up to. I like how he's just assuming, but that's good. And so Spidey and Alan follow this Ben kid around as he's doing, like, his various different drug deals. And then they see him going into this warehouse. And hours later, when Ben arrives at an ominous-looking warehouse, Spider-Man realizes that he may have stumbled onto the source of those drugs. And so, you know, he tells the kid to just wait outside. I mean, I think perhaps telling the kid to maybe go across the street, maybe hide behind some trees, you know, where you're not going to be exposed and open, where bad things can happen. But that doesn't happen. Spidey jumps into action, jumps into the warehouse, and he sees, those same hockey pucks that he saw in New York. And if he's seeing these, he knows who must be behind it. And it's Electro. Now, before we do that, we'll show you we got another public service announcement. This one coming from CP Rail Canada. It says, what can wreck your life with the power of a speeding train? Drugs! And Spidey says, good answer, because drugs can knock you flatter than anything. So even though it's sometimes hard to steer clear, remember these words from CP Rail. Drugs are the wrong track. Okay. So Spidey and Electro are battling it out. So obviously, Electro wants to destroy Spidey. So, but meantime, outside in the where Alan's waiting, his friends see him because, you know, they saw him get swooped up and swing away with Spider-Man. So they were following him. Alan tells them that, you know, we gotta be quiet, it's dangerous in there, and then, we've got some street toughs, including the one who was offering him the free drugs, and then this guy who we know from the beginning of the book, who's Electro's, I don't know, his lackey, I suppose? So, Spidey and Electro are still going at it, just your average, fair Spidey cracking jokes while he's beating him up. That's just what Spidey does. And then he realizes here that he has an audience, which is not good. And then the lackey is thinking to himself that bungling Electro's ruined everything. I'll have to make my move now. And so then he says, all right, kid, come with me. And he's got Beth. Beth, of course, being the smart kid who's going to be in the science fair in Fredericton. And that's not good. So we flip the page here, and he says, you know, Spider-Man, if you just let me have the girl, the other kids are free to go. Yeesh, that one sounds a little bad, 20 years on, or however, about 20 years later. Because what does he want with the girl? Yuck. Anyway, I like Spider-Man's response. He's like, you're kidding, right? As if he's gonna let that happen. So, he starts webbing up the bad kids. In the process, he misses Electro's lackey and then takes off. Spider-Man pursues. When he gets outside, all he finds is an old lady walking away. And his Spidey sense is tingling like crazy. He asks her if she's seen anybody that, ran out of the store, or ran out of the warehouse, and she's like, no. And then, of course, because, we aren't stupid, the woman is thinking to herself, even Spider-Man couldn't see through my disguise, and so I escaped to fight another day. Is Spider-Man really this stupid? Come on. Anyway, they're back inside the warehouse. The bad kid Ben is, still, being up to no good. So, he gets webbed up again. Spider-Man hangs him sort of by his arms from the ceiling there, as you can see. And Electro's just waiting for Spider-Man to turn around. I really like the expression on Electro's face here, though. I actually like the art in this book. I like it overall pretty well. And you see Spidey says, uh-oh. And Electro is going to get a shot at Spidey, but these are hockey players. These are good Canadian kids. They know what they're doing. They see hockey pucks. They have sticks. They start shooting at him. And as you can see here, Alan says he shoots. And he scores as he knocks Electro in the head, which gives Spidey time to web him up. And, we see the bad kid there. And Alan says, you can have your puck of drugs back. The police are called in. They haul everybody off, and the kid is very happy. He says, thanks for talking about substance abuse with me. And he says, it's his pleasure. But remember, the next time somebody offers you something, I might not be around to help. It'll be up to each of you to decide what to do. And he says goodbye and takes his leave. Then, after no longer drinking and doing bad stuff, Alan goes in, scores the winning goal. Does it. Hip hip hooray. That was a hat trick. And you can see here after the game, the kids, we got this kid here again, the one with, that looks like Kiefer Sutherland from Lost Boys. He's offering him a smoke and a drink, and he says, you know what, I don't need this stuff to celebrate. And then we have Peter Parker here, so he's learned the lesson. That's good. And hello, we have Peter Parker saying, hello, Mr. Jameson. It's Peter. I'm all through here in Winnipeg. I'll be going with Beth to Fredericton tomorrow for the science fair. And then you can he says, you can bet I'm going to keep an eye on Beth. I don't know why that escape mystery man was after her, but I suspect I haven't seen the last of him. One thing's for certain. If he threatens Beth again, if he even shows his face, Spider-Man will be there to stop him. And So, yeah, that's the end of this story. And we got the great one, drinking a Coca-Cola. Never gonna disparage the great one. And then on the back here, it has a thing here where it's talking about how, there's a friend might offer you other drugs than just like alcohol or pills. They might offer you things that look and appear to be marijuana. And it's your choice whether you do it or not. But Spidey is offering you a chance to, pick up this Health and Welfare Canada a pamphlet on drug and drug use, all of that good stuff. But nevertheless, this has been The Amazing Spider-Man Skating on Thin Ice, I guess, part 1. Believe it or not, cover actually done by Todd McFarlane. He didn't do any of the interior stuff, but just thought I'd point that out. So, I know I was being a little facetious going through all this stuff, but obviously kids should stay away from drugs. Thank you for joining me here on our second Spidey Sunday. Hopefully we don't have to do too many more of these, but in the meantime, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments down below. You can reach me over at sonofthemorning7 on Twitter, and oh yeah, hit that notification bell. So we'll talk to you next time.